Power of repetition for guitar instrumental composition. This session will be about the idea of repetition, especially again for when you want to create something and how you can use it. But before that, let's talk about repetition in the most common sense or basic sense of practicing. You probably know it, that if you want to get better at the guitar or play something better, like a piece or phrase or anything, you just wanted to repeat it enough times. So first of all, the repetition is powerful when you just want to focus on every element of your playing. Let's say you want to play this phrase. So this is the phrase I'm going to play with throughout the whole session. Now, what you want to do is focus on every movement of your fingers to get this right? Because you can play it fast, but you're not really sure if you're playing it cleanly enough or if there's any kind of transition issue. What you want to do is do it slowly so you can actually listen to the note you're playing, the transition, and the second note. And you do that for every note and for every transition. Rarely I see guitar players play that slow, and this is even maybe too fast when you want to play something new, when you want to learn something new. Basically, I was playing 7, 8, 10 on the B string, and then 7 on the high E, and then back and forth. So the reason why you want to do it slow is not only to listen to your notes and the transitions, to make sure that everything is clean. For example, here's something you can catch, right? It's buzzing. Okay, I need to make sure that my finger's in the right position. You want to make sure that bending it too much, right? Some of the strings, when they're loose, especially here, they might sound out of tune. And there are all kinds of issues that you can only hear when you play slowly. Another issue is that you want to make sure that you're playing with the right technique. For example, if you're playing with fingers and you want to alternate fingers, you can focus on the alternating on the fingers, like index middle, for example, or thumb index, and so on. So this is really important for be in sync with what you play, to make sure that everything works exactly the way you want it to. You want it to sound exactly the way you want it to sound. So this is it for now about practicing. And this is really good also for increasing your creativity. So this is the second power of the repetition element. When you want to repeat something, we rarely repeat the same way. There's always some kind of change, some kind of variation, but you can make it more deliberate by adding variations, variables, to make it more interesting. For example, this can be played in many different ways by changing the dynamics. For example, you can play it quietly, and really loudly. Combination of both. You can do it gradually, meaning crescendo. It goes up. You could do decrescendo, diminuendo. When it kind of decays, fade out. Right? These are kind of some of the basic ideas with dynamics, meaning you can, just by working on not just the phrase you're working on, but you can combine the other element and train yourself to do both at the same time. So play it well, play it cleanly the way you want it, and also play it more interestingly by changing the dynamics. What usually happens when we play quiet and loud, and this is sometimes why I get confused, because we do it at the same time. We play faster and slower. Usually quiet is slow and loud is fast, right? You can actually go with that because it's a natural thing we do. They go well together. But here's a trick. Can you do the other way around? Meaning play loud and slow. And fast and quiet, right? And then as the combination of everything. Right? So just with these 4 notes, back and forth, nothing special, nothing unique, but by adding the element of dynamics, you're already making it more dynamic. You're making it more interesting, more creative. So that's one element. And of course, there are many other elements, like you can add ornamentations, meaning harmonics, pull-off, slide, vibrato, all kinds of interesting stuff you can do. Repetition inside the repetition. Okay, that's another cool idea, meaning you repeat some of the notes. That's the power of the repetition. We just dealt with a few elements and a few variations of those elements, and obviously there are more. But I want to get to the main course, which is the idea of repetition for guitar composition, meaning playing this is not enough. I mean, there's a limit of how many times you can play the same thing without get bored. The cool thing about the guitar is that you can easily add a bass guitar, which is simply an open string, like the most basic way. For example, a D. It's already music, right? I mean, everything is music, but more kind of standard music. When you have a bass guitar, some kind of accompaniment instrument, and they interact with each other, they create this kind of harmony. Because every time you play a note, you hear it with the open. Right? So when you do it again, this is why when you do it fast, it's very difficult to hear. But you can appreciate much more when you give yourself time to listen to these interactions, this relationship between the notes. And how about if I'm gonna change it to a different bass note, let's say A. So then you have some kind of a corporation, D-A. And of course you can add one more, let's say B. And maybe back to A. Now, I played this so many times. I played this specific phrase so many times. And the power of it is that you remember it already. I'm sure you are, if you've been listening to it so far. Meaning, if I'm just going to play, can you hear, when I play the open D string, can you hear the melody in your head? I mean, I can hear it. And if not, maybe you haven't listened to it enough, or maybe other things. But usually, that's the power of repetition in terms of making it memorable. Okay, that's very powerful. So this idea of playing the same melody, changing the bass line, is another really good concept for composition, meaning you can make something out of nothing, right? But I want to show you another cool idea of repetition in another place, a sequence, meaning you take this and you move it, okay? So exactly the same contour, it's called, like you go one note, right? It's 4 notes up and then back. Very kind of simple, kind of pyramid kind of shape. Meaning you can, even on the same string, move it across, let's say, move it to the 2nd fret. Okay, so we kind of copy and pasting, duplicating the same idea, but hearing it from another perspective. Or maybe changing the bass. Okay, or when you have this new position for the same idea, here you can also play with bass notes. of them will sound interesting, some of them will be great, some will be too cliche, and it's up to you to choose which one you're gonna go with. But by just copy and pasting this, I can now move on to another one. How about to this one? Right? Now it's not exactly the same frets, but it's the same order of notes, meaning I'm going from a note, one from D to E, one note up, and another note up, right? So here I'm playing 2, 3, 5, C sharp, D, E, but I can play this over here, D, E, F sharp. And that could be, again, the exact same thing. And this is something called a sequence, meaning you can do... You can play the exact same thing across the fretboard. If you know the key, it makes it easy. But by the way, you don't have to stick to the same key. So here's it so far. And then maybe back to... Now this starts to become boring, right? Because now too many repetition can make us feel tired of playing the same thing again and again. So you usually want to break it, and usually it's at the end, meaning you have 3 repetitions of the same kind of contour going up and down, and then you can break it with a 4th that just something else. Right? Even staying on the same bass. This is very random and improvised, but the principle is the same. By the way, it's the same not only for when you want to create something, it's the same when you improvise guitar solo, having fun, jamming with your guitar, with no particular reason or aim or intention. You can just play with this idea, again, of copying and pasting. Hello. Sorry, Brijesh, I hope I pronounce your name correctly. So yeah, the idea is to really enjoy with repeating, moving the same idea, adding the elements, and practicing, right? Because this is great even if you're not into creating anything. Let's see, not into improvisation, not into composition. You just want to practice. This is great for practicing as well, because this will force you to know what will work, and you're going to ask why it works, and then you know that, okay, these notes move in a very specific way inside the key. I want to show another approach, which is moving to roughly a different key, meaning this is in D. If I take it 2 frets down, it sounds completely different, right? How about changing the actual place, but same D? Something interesting, right? And then you kind of expanding your options in terms of not just staying inside a key, but exploring the same idea over different keys, although you can do this for a moment, meaning you're not really modulating to another key, you're just kind of visiting for a short while. Can you teach me major scale theory? Yeah, I can do that in the next video. And this video was about the concept of repetition, and I can definitely take requests for the next video. So just to summarize, the idea of repetition is good for practicing something, just practicing a phrase or practicing for the sake of practicing. It's good for improvisation. It's good for creativity, meaning, again, think about other elements you can add to it. And also it's great for guitar composition, which to me is the ultimate goal, meaning you have an idea and you kind of develop it step by step, organically, duplicating it like a cell, a living cell of a baby, right? Or in the womb. You grow it step by step, copy and pasting, duplicating, replicating with variations, and then you end up with a great guitar piece that you can play from start to finish. And if you do it with some kind of emotional intent behind it, you'll be moved by it, others will be as well, and it's the best thing ever. So yeah, this is it for now, and I hope to see you next time. It will be probably again about some kind of guitar composition, instrumentals, elements in terms of how to create them. But I'm accepting and looking forward to getting your comments and suggestions and requests of what you want help with. Okay, take care. Great music.